All right, so you're probably thinking, oh crap, we gotta hear about government, we gotta hear about innovation in government. Well, I'm here to kind of rock the boat a little bit and talk about why it's such a cool topic to embrace and why government is going through radical shifts. But I want to talk about people and kind of my own experience with government. I started at a small agency. We had 8,000 people, the city of Manor, Texas. It's not Manor, it's Manor, so we have to put our Texas twang on things. I had 34 employees, including our police department, to serve our citizen base. And I quickly realized, being recruited to come in, that we were going to have to find some pretty innovative ways to keep the lights on and to deliver services. I was in banking before recruited, and our city manager had just retired from the bank I was at and said, hey, come be the city's chief financial officer. Told him, no thanks, government's not for me. Didn't want to go to council meetings late at night, so I didn't want to do that. But he twisted my arm and I came over. And first question I asked, being an IT guy, I said, who's the IT director? He said, we don't have one. I was like, crap. You should have put that on the invite to have me come over here. So I kind of became the de facto IT director. So I started looking at different things inside the city and tried to find different ways of doing things. So we wanted to build a website. We didn't have a website at the time. This is 2007, 2008. Government was a little bit behind. So put out a bid, said, come on, vendors, come to the table. Let's see what you have. So bids came in, $65,000 to build an open source website. So I said, okay, we got a problem. This isn't going to fly. But the trend continued. With every project that I did, the bids were always 10 times what it would cost for us to do ourselves. So I said, we've got to change this model. We have to find ways to partner with people, partner with companies in our area, and actually deliver better ways of service. And so we started doing that. Though it wasn't easy because everyone around us knew who we were. They knew we were a small city and no one wanted to partner. So I reached out to Stanford University, the Persuasive Technology Lab, and said, hey, we want to partner with you. We want to find ways to change the way that we deliver services. We want to find better ways of improving service delivery. And they said yes, because they had never been to Manor, Texas. So what we're going to talk about today is a lot of the stuff that you hear about when you hear about Manor. It's been written about, it's been embedded in books. I want to talk about the lessons that I learned being a public servant. I want to talk about one of the things that I realized that took a little bit was that innovation actually came from the people. It didn't come from us inside City Hall. It came from our citizen base. It came from people that rallied around our cause and what we wanted to do. And we've seen lots of organizations emerge that have done that as well. We've seen Code for America. We have lots of great organizations that are emerging in this space to deal with that. But I want to talk about why we need to rethink what it means to give citizens a voice. So when you look at how citizens perceive government today, we have this nice, pretty graph that shows the level of trust is incredibly low. Politics aside, government's not always perceived as a positive thing, right? Your interactions with government aren't always positive. They're normally around paying taxes, paying speeding tickets, right? So your trust in government is at an all-time low. So the way that we measure our ability to move the needle on that has always been this fluffy phrase, citizen engagement. I hear it all the time. It's just like innovation. It is the most overused phrase in the public sector. Cities have, engagement directors and all kinds of individuals that have the right idea, but what is engagement actually for constituents? So I started looking at this in the context of my own city and in cities that I've worked with since then. And when you look at the interactions that people have, we have this classic example of a council meeting, right? Everyone's favorite thing to go to. This is a representative example of the rest of the country, right? You have a council meeting that's going on, you have two people at it, and that's how they engage. Most people will sign up to speak. So my first council meeting when I was in government, we had a whole list of people that signed up to speak, and they got up and they spoke their piece, and then I was told that council could not legally respond to them because it wasn't on the agenda. So how frustrating of an experience would that be to sit there as you go through all your regular business, sign up to speak, you speak for 3 minutes, they'll cut you off. They won't let you go over like a BIF, but they'll cut you off, and you don't get a reply. You don't get a response. And then I looked at the internet, right? So we've taken kind of the bulletin board approach that we have where we have to legally post notices on bulletin boards at city halls. We have to put that online. And we called that engagement. We said, okay, we'll put all of this information online. It's self-service. Has anyone ever tried to find anything on a website, right? If Amazon was designed like this, you would never buy a product, right? Because it's every possible user interaction, whether you're a business, whether you're just a citizen, whether you don't even live in that community. You have every interaction possible designed into that UI. And so I was like, okay, well, that explains why we're not engaging there. So then we went social. And this became another mechanism of engagement. We said, well, we had 5,000 likes on Facebook, and now we have angry faces, which are a bad thing, but this became our way of evaluating what citizens were capable of, what they were thinking. And then we went mobile first, which is the big trend right now. We said, okay, we're gonna design optimized experiences for them where they can pull out their phone and they'll be able to interact and engage with government on their mobile phone, bam, we're done, mic drop, right? Then we did open data. We started deploying open data portals. And we said, okay, this will be self-service. People can go, they can download spreadsheets, CSV files. They can sift through it and figure things out on their own. No more FOIA requests. That reality never happened. But what about this? How do we accommodate changes in behavior? How do we accommodate the fact that when I ask Alexa something, she'll give me a response back based on different sources? If I say, Alexa, did I pay my water bill this month?
No, Dustin, I can't do that yet, you know that.
I'll get a response like that, right? So I'll get a response that no, government's not there. So when I started thinking about what is the most personalized aspect of government today, especially when you think about it at the local level, it looks a little bit like this, right? It's designed around you. It's designed around your speed. It's contextual to the moment. So when you think about how we engage people, if this is the most personalized form of engagement I have, then there's no wonder why the trust that people have in my institution is at an all-time low. This is the system that I've designed for them. So one of the things that we realized in the process of doing this is that over time, when you look at this chart, follow from left to right, I would put something online. I would say, okay, you have to come in to City Hall, let's say first, to fill out that form. High degree of effort, very little degree of impact. Going down, put it online. It's a little bit easier now. I can fill it out from a web page, has a little bit bigger degree of impact. I put it on a mobile phone, even bigger. So government is there today, but when you look at where constituents are, they're in this whole other category that we call predictive. And a lot of times I'll get into arguments with government agencies about this because they say, well, no, they're not using predictive software. Yes, everything that you use is built around your user experience, your data, your behavior. You go to Amazon, it shows you products not based on the city you live in, but based on your own behavior and what it thinks you'll be interested in. So what if we started to design services like that? So we found that a citizen's experience with private sector technologies is actually reshaping what they expect in the public sector. They're demanding that. They're now finding new ways to do that on their own. But in order to do that, we have to stop talking about citizen engagement. It's time to redefine what citizen engagement is and erase that from our vocabulary and look at something that we call the citizen experience. What does it mean to actually experience government agencies? So what is citizen experience? It's essentially the interactions between citizens and government across multiple channels, but they have to be mutually valuable. It has to have some mutual value to it. So it's not about two-way conversation, because you can have two-way conversation that's frankly not very valuable. I've had lots of two-way conversation with agencies. It's not valuable. It's got to create mutual value on both sides of the spectrum. And you might be sitting there thinking this or, why? I get this a lot. When I was in government, I was often asked, why would you ever want to go to your constituent base to have them do anything more than just pay taxes? Why would you want that, right? I already have enough trouble having them show up at the meetings or picket the meetings or protest different things. So why would I want constituents to engage even more so? Why would I want to focus on building an experience to make that easier? We often picture things like this in the public sector. We look at the Arab Spring and the fact that people self-organized and were very disruptive in nature for a right reason. Occupy Wall Street, closer to home, right? We saw these examples and said, this is what happens when you go to people, right? Bank of America, remember when they wanted to charge $5 a month for debit cards? That's what happened here in the US. People are very powerful. What we found is that they self-organize and they're able to actually influence change on their own. But this is what it looks like to design experiences around them, to actually go to them and not just ask for a retweet, but to actually tap their excess capacity, to find ways to engage their superpowers, to quote Yarrow, to find their superpowers of their boats in the case of Hurricane Harvey in Houston. This is what the future looks like for the public sector. People are capable of self-organizing and doing a lot more than just liking something on Facebook for your agency. They're capable of doing work for you. They're capable of doing research. They're capable of a whole variety of things. And they're starting to actually design their own experiences in the place of government today. Right now, if you go to a planning and zoning meeting and you say, I want a dog park in my neighborhood, what's the commission gonna say? No, we don't, it's not in the budget, we don't have money for it. They may not even legally respond to you because you only have 3 minutes and it's gotta be on the agenda. So now I can go to the site Citizen Investor and I can crowdfund the heck out of that dog park and I can put it in my own neighborhood. So we're seeing people that are actually enacting physical change on the built environment of cities by using technology as a medium. It's unlocked them. We see See Click Fix, which was a great application that was created to allow people to report the most annoying thing in the world, which is potholes, right? So you can report potholes, you can even vote on your least favorite pothole. It's kind of a fun thing. These are not all potholes here. If you open up Texas, it's just one big red dot. So our roads don't work very well there. But again, this is tapping the cognitive surplus of people. It's tapping their excess capacity. They have a frustration. What do they do today? They call 311. They say, hey, I just hit a pothole. Y'all need to do something about it. Do they have geolocation data on where that call took place? Not yet. Right? And then they normally write it down. They route it to someone. That person goes out. They drive around. They're like, everything's a pothole. I don't know what they're talking about. So this allows people to take pictures of the change that they want and actually influence it. We also have this. So I didn't get a speeding ticket, but if I had got a speeding ticket in Providence, this is the response that I got. This is called the Do Not Pay bot. So this has 1,000 different legal functions, but I can go online and say, I got a speeding ticket, and there's now a chat bot that will actually spit out a reply to an agency to contest said ticket, all by using this technology. Now, is this an experience the government built? No. This is an experience that citizens built in the place of government. So we're starting to see a lot more of this. So a citizen in the future, when you think about how they'll plug into an agency, they might help you win a grant. They might write a grant application for you. Or they might provide vital data using the thing that we all carry around, our cell phones. They're little mini weather stations. It's kind of crazy, but the best example of the power of that data comes from applications like Waze. What if government actually allowed people to opt into sharing that same level of information as a passive way to engage and experience agencies? So there's lots of different ways that we can redefine what it actually means to engage with agencies. And when you look at the whole field of crowdsourcing, citizens can be put to work. You can have them identify problems. You can have them come up with solutions. You can have them apply funding. Maybe they wanted something, but you didn't have budget funds for it. Put it online. Allow people to engage with it. You can break down really complex tasks and have people complete those. We call it microtasking. Implementation's a little bit more scary, but it has happened. There's a lot of cases where you see citizens filling potholes themselves. Don't necessarily encourage that behavior, but people are enacting change on the physical world using technology as a vehicle to unlock them. And they can also validate whether or not what you put in place works. And that's one of the key things. We do lots of capital projects in the public sector, but how often do we go back to our citizen base and actually evaluate whether that project solved the problem that we set out to solve at the beginning? Did that roadway actually ease congestion? Did that IT project actually enhance user experience and behavior? So there's so much that we can do there. Now, what's the benefit? So for constituents, it lets them engage with their talents, and it uses their excess capacity on their own terms. So when you look at the future of work and what's happening with Upwork and the fact that 34% of the American workforce is freelancing today, this is a powerful mechanism that actually leverages that surplus when you go home. If you're passionate about something, you can do it. If your superpower is something, you can plug that into an agency and you can do it. And organizations like Code for America have tapped into that on the IT side, right? You have brigades across the country that have formed where people are doing this on the side. They're doing it for no money, but they're leveraging their power to collectively move the needle on things. But it can go well beyond technology. you can get into so many different facets. Everybody is an expert in something in your communities. So from the government standpoint, you build trust, you build resiliency. When you think about Hurricane Harvey and what happened in Houston, citizens self-organized, and they found new ways of solving the problem that faced the city of Houston. And you can also tap into a specialized talent pool. The future of work is going to be very disruptive for government, so we have to find new ways to incubate that talent. And we've seen early examples of what this looks like in government agencies. So Louisville, Kentucky uses if this then that to actually unlock their open data and allow citizens to customize it. If the mayor goes on Facebook Live, they can design their own interactions, their own notifications. It's all built around their own preferences. They can use this to customize that service delivery. We've seen CIOs, like the City of Austin CIO, Stephen Elkins, rethinking the workforce by saying, hey, we can't hire all of the employees that we're going to need in the future. We're going to need to use flexible sourcing to actually get some on-demand hybrid employees that fill our workforce gaps that we have. And my favorite example is we've seen citizens helping citizens enabled by government. We all hate jury duty, but Macomb County, Michigan said, you might be more likely to show up for jury duty if an Uber black car picks you up, right? Probably so. And so again, this is built around the experience of what it means to interact with a government agency. So what have we learned today? Citizen engagement is truly enabled by focusing on the experience. Don't focus on engagement because all of the metrics behind it are fluffy. Focus on the experience that you enable by it. What am I trying to actually do? I'm trying to enhance a user's experience that has value on both sides. Citizens are capable of doing more than liking things on Facebook. If your engagement strategy is purely based on social media and all the little faces that come on the bottom of your post now, you need to look well beyond that. You have to find ways to leverage the talents of your population. And when you look at the way that we design future experiences, we need to create experiences that are designed around value on both sides. So everything that you look at, technology is just a tool to enable a better experience, but you have to find ways to actually create value and ensure that your users are getting value out of it as well. There are 90,000 plus local government agencies in the United States. There's over 19,000 cities. The vast majority of these cities are small. They're under 10,000 population. So how do we enable the next generation of government? We have to connect the dots between the people that live and breathe and pay taxes in the cities across the country. So what I want to leave you with today is, regardless of your role and whatever organization you're in, you're a citizen. So how are you going to help reshape the experience of government? Is it by helping educate government? Is it by helping share your talents with government? Whatever it may be, you have a unique opportunity to move the needle on this entire model, to allow agencies to become more resilient, to bring government even further than it is today, and to restore and rebuild trust in the public sector. So that's my call to action for you, and I thank you for your time.